Hello YouTube, Jason from Renegade Rants Comics. So, in 2025 my goal was to complete my Marvel Spotlight run, except for probably Marvel Spotlight 5, because the pricing on that is just out of my wheelhouse right now. And we'll talk about Marvel Spotlight 5 in a little bit. But, for Christmas my friend Sean and Trevor got me Marvel Spotlight 6, which is probably the pricier book, because it was Marvel Spotlight 5 through Marvel Spotlight 11 was the Johnny Blaze Ghost Rider before he had his ongoing series. And I was able to get Ghost Rider 1, a lower grade copy, last year. Completed my Ghost Rider 1 through 81. So I really wasn't looking at pricing because I'm not going to have Marvel Spotlight 5, what's the point? But then towards the end of the year, I'm like, you know, I probably should check prices on this because it might not be that bad. So I got on eBay and I started looking. So, like I said, I already have Marvel Spotlight 6. I've shown that on a couple videos. But I got on and I was able to find Marvel Spotlight 7. And a pretty good price on it. So this is from 1972. It's a key. It's the third appearance of Ghost Rider. And of course, it's Gary Friedrich and Mike Ploog on the art on that. So I got that one, and then, alright, I've got 6 and 7 now. I'll just keep on looking. So then, of course, 8 popped up. And this is from 1973. It's a key because it's the 4th Ghost Rider appearance, and it's the first appearance of Snake Dance, who is a villain who can command serpents. And it's the first appearance of Sam Silvercloud, who is an ally of Snake Dance. And again, Gary Friedrich and Mike Ploog. Alright, so I have 6, 7, 8. Well, where's 9? So I get on and find another listing. So there's number 9. It's from 1973. Friedrich and Ploog on that one. Alright, so I've got 9. What about 10? So, Marvel Spotlight 10 was from 1973. It's the first appearance of Witch Woman, who is Linda Littletrees. And this was Gary Friedrich and Herb Trimpe. So then I need 11. And 11 was kind of, I saw a couple books that were really low grade, but they kind of wanted more than I wanted to pay, but I was able to find this one. And this one is actually pretty low grade. It's got a lot of, not really a detached cover, but it looks like almost like maybe mice or something had got in there, because there's a little chew marks on the outside there. I was able to get this one. So this is 1973. So it's Gary Friedrich, and then cover pencils were Rich Buckler, and the inks were Mike Esposito. Okay, so I did it. So there's 2025. That was my goal. Now I don't have Marvel Spotlight 5, but I'm like, I was able to pick these up, and I got them on eBay, and I didn't, like I said, I don't do Whatnot. I've got to start looking at Whatnot, but I was able to pick those up, and with shipping, all of those books cost me $73.85. Now, $73 is actually a good chunk of money for me. You know, I don't have a huge comic budget. I talked about, you know, I need to start consolidating some of the newer books I'm getting, because I kind of went a little nuts in 2024, and I've kind of got to concentrate on the books I want. But as a Ghost Rider guy, you know, these are the books, and I'm like, I'm not going to find them cheaper. They're low-grade copies, but that's fine for my collection. So, I'm like, well, I was watching Comic Tom, and then he's talking about Marvel Spotlight 5 heating up. Everybody's talking about Marvel Spotlight 5 heating up. And Marvel Spotlight is literally a very hard book to get in a high grade. So I'm like, well, let's jump on CGC and just see what the census says. So, a Marvel Spotlight 5, there are only 6 9.8s on the census. There are 47 9.6s. There's 107 9.4s. There's 198 9.2s, and there's 296 9.0s. Now, all of those books are thousands of dollars, okay? And for my collection, I want the book. And I've already said, I don't care about facsimiles. I would love a facsimile to come out because, in my opinion, it's the story. Well, in 92, we have this, the original Ghost Rider #1, and I bought this. Like this is $1 a book all day long. Dollar bin diving. I probably got like 5 copies of this. But the cover was Mark Teixeira and Jimmy Palmiotti. Okay? But this is Marvel Spotlight 5. It's literally, the inside is Marvel Spotlight 5. It's just a retelling of Marvel Spotlight 5. They reissued those in the series. So I could have had 6, 7, 8 for about $1. But I wanted the Marvel Spotlights. So then I started going on eBay. Just looking. And there's a few books on there that, alright, for Marvel Spotlight 5. Like one had, it was actually CGC'd. It was a 1.5, and I don't know how it was a 1.5. But literally, the cover was tore. Like, so it's just the bottom cover. So I think they used to do that back in the day where the newsstand people would turn in the top part of it and keep the book or whatever to get rebates or money back or something like that if it didn't sell. So they want $475 for that. And I'm like, I need to have a good cover. So as I'm looking, I start finding other books. And I'm like, have they done a reprint on this? Have they done a facsimile? Because I'll buy the facsimile. And some facsimiles go for some good money. Like, I've had a couple of them that I've seen that were facsimiles that even the last couple years, you bought them for the $4.99 or $3.99 or whatever it was. And now they're $20 or $30 because, you know, they're out of print now. And they kind of took off. And the newer facsimiles have the original ads in them. And I love that. Like, I have a Hulk 180 and a Hulk 181 from that. And that's fine for my collection because it's the original art, it's the original cover, it's from Marvel. What do I care? So I started doing the research on it, and I found a couple things. So the first thing I found was they're selling Marvel Spotlight 5 covers. And they're like $25 plus shipping or whatever. So for $31, I can buy a Marvel Spotlight cover. And then I was like, well, all right, yeah, but it's not an official printing. It didn't come from Marvel. But like the listing is literally saying, you know, to put a cover on a coverless book. Well, is there a scam? Are people scamming people? Like, the census numbers are low, so like the total census for books on the census for all Ghost Riders, including the lower grades, are 6,515 copies are on the census. So, and you know, yeah, there's a lot of, you know, raw books out there or floppies that, you know, people didn't send into CGC, and, you know, whether you like CGC, you don't like CGC, I'm not a slab guy. I do like putting them in a comic capsule, not sponsored, but I do like my comic capsules because it's easy to hang them up on the wall. It's got UV protection, and even comic capsules, somebody's Swaggle House has just done a video out where it was talking about, I guess comic capsules are starting to get some kind of like a glazed film on the back, and they're trying to get ahead of, or comic capsules trying to get ahead of it, where they're saying, you know, hey, don't put just the raw book in the, you know, comic capsule, you know, but it's designed so a bag and board goes in there, and that's how I put mine in there anyway, and I have no hazing or anything on mine, but they actually said that if you bought comic capsules and you're having a hazing problem, they'll send you inner sleeves to put them in, or I don't know if they're just going to be bags and boards or just bags, but a bag and a board fits right in there. And then you can swap them out if you decided you wanted to change your wall books up or something like that. I think that's a good idea. Plus, it's got, you know, the UV protection and stuff. Not that I have sunlight directly on any of my wall books anyway, but, you know, just over time, they can fade. So, but as I'm doing the research, I'm like, okay. So then Son of Crom, love the guy to death. He sends me a thing and he goes, well, I watched your video, you're looking for Marvel Spotlight 5, you could probably pick one up relatively cheap. And like, as I'm looking through the 7 through 11 that I just picked up for, you know, low price, I'll keep on looking at eBay, and I'm going to start looking at Whatnot, but there's no way I get this book for less than $500, at least in any kind of a grade. So then I find a listing that says it's like 50 bucks. And I'm like, oh, it's got to be a facsimile. And I'm looking on the inside and it says 1992. I'm like, 1992? And it's like $50 plus shipping or whatever. Like, that's not bad. I'd put that in my collection and then I have them all. Except I started looking at it, and as you can see, all that is the $25 cover that you buy and this book. They took this cover off and they put that cover on it. And they're saying it's a facsimile, which it is, but it's not an official facsimile from Marvel. So, are they scamming you? So what I'd like you guys to do in the comments is, would you buy that $50 book? It's got the cover, it's got the story, but I have the story right now in this. So, that's my, you know, warning. So if you saw the thumbnail, I'm kind of sitting there saying, you might want to look out, because I'm going to say this. If there are only 6 9.8s on the census that are high grade, that cover did not have any kind of pristine life. You know, it's the all black cover. You can't really, you know, read it, or, you know, creases or ticks or something. And I mean, it's from 1972. So we're talking 53 years. So what's your takeaway on that? Would you buy a bootleg book that you know is fake just to have it in your collection? Or would I be cheating for my collection if I bought that cover and on one of the many copies of this, I put that cover over this, threw it in a comic capsule, and threw it up on my wall? Looks like the book. Same story as the book. So what are your comments on it? Like, am I cheating myself as a collector? Or am I finishing a run that I wanted to finish? And then, with Son of Crom, getting back to him, he had sent me a thing saying, there's a Turkish edition. So I'm on eBay looking at, you know, this, and it looks like, in a few years ago, a Turkish printer printed out a reproduction of Marvel Spotlight 5. It's in Turkish. You know, and so I found the cheapest price I can find, and I should have that up on the screen. It was $9 for the book, but it's $25 ship. So that's under $40 that I could actually have a Marvel Spotlight 5 facsimile or reproduction. But it'd be in Turkish, but it's the cover. Would that be the better way to go? Get an international edition? I know Mike from Lunch Money Comics actually buys foreign language comics as just part of his collection. He likes that. So I'm just kind of wondering, if you guys want to comment down below, are you cheating yourself if you buy a known Frankenstein book, and have you ran into Frankenstein books? Because it's buyer beware. Because I could see me finding one of these at either a show or a con, and if it was under $100, I think the FOMO of I have to have this book in my collection, I would probably pay it and then come home and find out it's a $25 cover and a $1 book that was a Frankenstein. And have you guys ran into Frankenstein books? Have you guys seen maybe higher grade covers, but the interior doesn't really match what the cover is, that somebody may have taken a cover from one book and then swapped it? Because we know we had the CGC mess, you know, last year, where that was happening at CGC, where people were stealing people's good books and putting a lower grade copy in there. And is it really worth picking something like that up? Or are you just cheating yourself? Now, see, my collection's my collection. You know, I don't ever plan on selling my collection. But if I did, you know, I would be completely honest with it. You know, I'm not going to try to get $1,000 for that book. It's like, you know, oh no, it's a Frankenstein. But are there other people that would do that? And should you watch out for those kind of people? So, I don't know. Give me a comment down below. What do you think? Would you buy something that you know is fraudulent if the price was right to finish off what you're doing? Or would you just patiently wait and see if something falls into your lap, either a trade or, you know, somebody has one that you need kind of thing? My collection is 90% low grade dollar bin dives, okay? 50-cent bins, 75-cent bins, and I'm perfectly honest with it. Last year was the first year I actually started spending a little bit more on books because I just wanted to finish runs off, and I spent more money on finishing the Volume 2 Danny Ketch Ghost Rider from the 90s than I did to buy all of the Marvel Spotlight, you know, books of 7 through 11. So, if you're looking for something, my advice is going to be, don't ever not look, because I did that. Like, in my head, I'm never going to have Marvel Spotlight 5. There's no point in getting any of the other Marvel Spotlights, which is stupid, now that I think about it, because I should have just been picking them up, because I've actually seen these books out in the wild where I could have got them a lot cheaper. Not so much price-wise, but as far as not having to pay the shipping on that. Because the shipping almost cost, for all of those combined, cost about the same as what the books did combined. And like I said, they were lower grade. But nobody was bidding on them. But now that I'm seeing Marvel Spotlight 5 on a couple shows where it's the spec on it is high, I think that if we find out that there's any kind of Ghost Rider coming back into the MCU, which I pray to God that there is, that book is going to just skyrocket again. And in 2009, you could have picked up a lower grade copy of that, complete, from 1972, for literally $200. Now, I wasn't super collecting back then. I was picking up a few books here and there, or I'd go to a con. I think the only time I really went comic book shopping is sometimes my friend Sean and I would just stop at a store, you know, kind of thing. But usually it was free comic book day. You know, and I don't want to admit it, but I was one of those guys that would go into free comic book day, pick up a couple of the free comic books, and the only reason I was doing it is because it was completely, the place we usually went had a huge sale where back issues were $1. And I would just pick up a hodgepodge. I'd get a Captain America, 4 or 5 Captain Americas, a couple Iron Man, you know, kind of thing. But I never completed those runs at all because it was just so daunting to try to complete them. And then it never occurred to me, well, let's look at, you know, Marvel Spotlight 5. Well, I love Ghost Rider, but I'm like, you know, working on the Danny Ketch run, I'll try to finish that off. Oh, I'm never probably going to get all of the 70s ones, and I kind of like had a defeatist attitude. So my recommendation is don't be defeatist on this, because I put myself or pigeonholed myself a certain way, and now I regret a lot of the things that I didn't do. It's not so much that I didn't buy those books, it's because I literally put some kind of limitation on what I could look for, or what I even wanted to look for. So, you like a character, you see a book, you want to get it, you'll complete the run if you want to. If you don't want to, that's fine. There's other people. I was talking to Christopher Parker, who's one of the guys that usually jumps on a lot of the live streams and stuff like that. Go Bills. I don't want to talk about that. But anyway, we were having a really good conversation the other night about he picks up, you know, books that he wants, And he named off 3 of his main characters. And I think most comic collectors have 3 characters that they gravitate towards. You know, mine's Ghost Rider, Punisher, and Wolverine. But I have a pretty good Jonah Hex run. Not one of the characters I'm really seeking out, but when something comes along, I pick it up. You know? Are there other characters? Like, I love the X-Men. I would not even try to get an X-Men collection, and I know there's a lot of X-Men comics you can get cheap. But to me, there's no point because I'm never going to have the complete run. So, run collectors versus regular collectors, or cover collectors versus whatever kind of collector you are, just remember that be wary of a deal that's too good, but don't necessarily assume that it's bad. And I would always say, check it out. So, for me, I'm just going to give this warning. If I'm buying a Marvel Spotlight 5, unless it's already slabbed in a CGC or CBCS or any of the other companies, I'm going to pull it out of the bag. And I would be very apprehensive doing that, but if I have the actual cash to cover the book, I'm going to pull it out and I'm going to start looking at it. And I think you guys should too, because is it a reproduction cover that they threw on the top? And from what I've read about those reproduction covers, they're pretty good. Like, they're kind of on original, like they made it feel like the old book, but if it's clean and it's cleaner than you think it should be, I would be a little apprehensive. So, just running my mouth. Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. Should I get the Turkish edition just to have it? Should I buy a cover and just throw a cover around my original Ghost Rider? Is that cheating? So, give me some comments, and I'll see you guys next Tuesday.